The darkness of space stretched endlessly, broken only by the soft blue glow of the human starship's navigation systems. Captain Kim Tae-woo stood motionless, his hands clasped behind his back, watching the vast emptiness before him. The Resilience, a sleek exploration vessel, cut through the silent void of the Orion sector with precise, calculated movements. Beside him, Park Yuna monitored the complex sensor arrays. Her fingers moved quickly across holographic displays, tracking minute changes in the surrounding space. Something was different today. The usual emptiness felt charged, expectant. "Captain?" she called out, her voice cutting through the quiet. "Bridge. We're detecting multiple energy signatures approaching from Sector 7. Tae-woo's eyes narrowed. They weren't alone anymore. Moments later, 3 massive triangular ships materialized from hyperspace. Their metallic hulls gleamed with an alien precision, dwarfing the human vessel. These were Krell ships, known throughout the galaxy for their technological superiority and brutal diplomatic strategies. A harsh mechanical voice crackled through the communication systems. "Human vessel, you have entered restricted space. Prepare for standard integration and inspection protocols." Park Yuna looked up, her expression calm. "They're scanning us," she reported, attempting to assess our technological capabilities. The Krell didn't know it yet, but they were about to make a critical mistake. Tae-woo remained calm, watching the alien ships approach. Years of preparation, months of careful planning, and generations of human resilience had led to this moment. The Krell believed humans were primitive, easily manipulated. They saw the human exploration vessel as nothing more than a potential resource to be cataloged and controlled. What they didn't understand was the intricate network of strategies humanity had developed. Every movement, every communication was carefully calculated. The lead Krell ship began broadcasting standard interference protocols, attempting to limit the human vessel's communication and navigational abilities. Standard procedure for a species they considered inferior, but Park Yuna was ready. With a series of quick, precise movements, she activated a series of adaptive communication algorithms. The human ship's systems danced around the Krell's interference, maintaining perfect operational status. "Interference attempt blocked," she reported, a slight smile crossing her face. Tae-woo nodded. "Maintain passive response. Let them believe they're in control." The Krell ships continued their approach, their massive forms casting shadows across the Resilience's hull. Scanning beams probed every inch of the human vessel, searching for weaknesses, technological limitations. They would find nothing but what humanity wanted them to see. Inside the lead Krell ship, navigation officers grew increasingly frustrated. Their advanced scanning systems provided conflicting data. The human vessel appeared simultaneously primitive and inexplicably complex. "Something is wrong," muttered the Krell navigation commander. "These humans, they do not respond as expected." Little did they know that was exactly the point. Tae-woo watched the developing scenario with the calm of a chess master. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for generations. The encounter wasn't just a random space exploration mission. It was a carefully orchestrated first step in a much larger plan. Park Yuna continued monitoring the systems, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. Each movement was precise, each response calculated to present exactly the image humanity wanted the Krell to see. The massive alien ships drew closer, their sensors continuing to probe, analyze, and attempt to understand the human vessel. They saw what humanity wanted them to see. A seemingly vulnerable exploration ship, technologically interesting but ultimately inconsequential. They were wrong. In the vast, cold emptiness of space, a delicate dance of deception was unfolding. The Krell believed they were in control, preparing to catalog and potentially subjugate another species. Humanity knew better. This was just the beginning. As the alien ships completed their initial approach, Captain Kim Tae-woo allowed himself the smallest of smiles. The first move had been made and humanity was precisely where it wanted to be. The grand conference hall gleamed with polished surfaces and advanced holographic projections. Delegates from hundreds of galactic civilizations filled the massive circular chamber, their various forms and shapes creating a stunning mosaic of alien diversity. At the center, the human delegation stood out, small in number but radiating an unexpected confidence. Captain Kim Tae-woo walked with measured steps, his dark suit perfectly pressed. Beside him, Park Yuna carried a simple data tablet, her movements calm and deliberate. Lee Dong-hyuk followed, his eyes constantly scanning the room, reading the subtle interactions between alien species. The Krell delegation occupied the primary diplomatic platform. Their lead negotiator, a towering figure with metallic skin and multiple joint structures, looked down at the humans with clear contempt. Years of galactic interactions had taught the Krell that most emerging species were easily manipulated. Humans will now present their initial proposal, announced the neutral conference mediator, a translucent being from the Neutral Planetary Council. Tae-woo stepped forward. His presentation seemed simple, almost naive. He spoke about resource sharing, peaceful exploration, and mutual technological exchange. The language was straightforward, almost simplistic. Other alien delegates listened with varying degrees of amusement and mild interest. The Krell negotiator's mechanical laugh echoed through the chamber. The humans proposed standard cooperation protocols with minimal understanding of galactic complexities, he announced, his voice dripping with condescension. What none of them realized was that every word, every gesture was part of a carefully constructed plan. Park Yuna's data tablet wasn't just a simple device. Embedded within its seemingly ordinary interface were complex algorithmic pathways that were silently mapping diplomatic connections, analyzing power structures, and identifying potential leverage points. Lee Dong-hyuk watched the room, his trained eye catching the subtle power dynamics. He noticed how certain alien species tensed when the Krell spoke, how others exchanged knowing glances. Humanity wasn't just presenting a proposal, they were conducting a sophisticated intelligence-gathering operation. The Krell continued their dismissive approach. They presented a series of diplomatic documents that appeared to offer cooperation, but were actually designed to create dependencies. Standard tactics that had worked with hundreds of emerging species throughout galactic history. Tae-woo read through the documents with apparent concentration. To the untrained eye, he seemed to be carefully considering the complex legal language. In reality, he was identifying exactly what the Krell wanted humans to overlook. "We accept the primary framework," Tae-woo announced, his voice calm and clear. Murmurs rippled through the conference hall. Acceptance seemed too quick, too easy. But nobody could pinpoint exactly why it felt unusual. The Krell negotiator seemed momentarily surprised. Their standard manipulation tactics were working faster than expected. They believed they were securing another straightforward subjugation agreement, another civilization to be quietly controlled. What they didn't understand was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for years. Every diplomatic interaction, every technological development, had been carefully designed to reach this exact point. Park Yuna's fingers moved subtly across her data tablet. Microscopic data packets were being transferred, creating invisible networks of information and potential future leverage. The device looked ordinary, but it was a sophisticated tool of diplomatic engineering. Lee Dong-hyuk caught Tae-woo's brief, almost imperceptible nod. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. The conference continued. More documents were signed, more agreements were made. To most observers, it seemed like a standard diplomatic interaction between an advanced civilization and an emerging species. But beneath the surface, a complex game was being played. Humanity wasn't just participating in the diplomatic process, they were quietly redesigning it. As the final documents were signed, the Krell delegation felt a sense of complete victory. They had no idea that the real game was just beginning, and that every seemingly simple agreement contained layers of potential they couldn't yet comprehend. The diplomatic gambit was in motion, and humanity was exactly where it wanted to be. 12 standard months had passed since the diplomatic conference. The Krell believed they had successfully manipulated the human civilization, seeing them as a potential resource to be controlled and eventually absorbed. They were wrong. In a secure research facility deep within Earth's orbital stations, Park Yuna stood before a massive holographic display. Quantum circuits hummed with an energy that seemed almost alive. Her team of engineers and scientists worked silently, their fingers moving across advanced interfaces. System calibration at 98.7%, announced a young researcher. Yuna nodded. The moment was approaching. Across the galaxy, Krell military installations monitored their vast network of technological systems. Massive weapon platforms, computational networks that spanned entire star systems, and defense grids that had maintained their technological supremacy for centuries stood ready. They didn't know that everything was about to change. The first indication came as a simple signal, a tiny electronic pulse that most systems would have ignored. But this pulse was different. It carried a complex algorithmic signature that began to interact with the Krell's primary computational networks. On their primary command station, alarms began to sound. Soft at first, then growing increasingly urgent. System interference detected, reported a Krell technical officer. Within minutes, something extraordinary happened. The Krell's most advanced weapon platforms began to shut down. Not through direct attack, but through a series of mathematical transformations that essentially rewrote their operational parameters. Quantum adaptive systems, developed in secret by human researchers, were dismantling the Krell's technological superiority piece by piece. Captain Kim Tae-woo watched the live feeds from the orbital command center. His expression remained calm, almost uninterested. Years of preparation had led to this moment. The Krell Grand Coordinator stared in disbelief as entire defense networks collapsed. Weapon systems that had maintained their galactic dominance for centuries became nothing more than expensive metal structures. How is this possible? He demanded, his mechanical voice revealing a hint of panic. Park Yuna's technology wasn't just breaking through Krell systems. It was rewriting the fundamental understanding of computational interaction. What the Krell saw as impenetrable, humans saw as a complex mathematical problem waiting to be solved. Communication networks went silent. Navigation systems became confused. Military platforms that once represented absolute technological power now seemed like ancient relics. Lee Dong-hyuk monitored the global response. Military units were on standby, not for aggressive action but to manage potential galactic responses to this sudden technological transformation. The humans weren't destroying Krell technology. They were fundamentally changing how it worked. Complex. Quantum algorithms danced through electronic systems, not as invaders but as fundamental redesigners. The Krell's technology didn't collapse. It was gradually, mathematically transformed into something entirely new. Total system integration complete, reported Yuna's primary computational assistant. Across various Krell command centers, officials watched in stunned silence. Their most advanced computational systems were being rewritten, not through force, but through an unprecedented level of mathematical and technological understanding. What humans had achieved wasn't just a technological breakthrough. It was a complete reimagining of technological interaction. The Krell Grand Coordinator realized something terrifying. Humanity hadn't just matched their technology. They had demonstrated a level of adaptive intelligence that the Krell had never believed possible. Hours passed. The transformation continued. What had started as a seemingly simple technological intervention was revealing itself to be a complete restructuring of computational understanding. Humanity had done more than defeat a technological system. They had shown the galaxy that true technological superiority wasn't about existing power, but about adaptive intelligence and creative problem-solving. As systems stabilized, a new reality emerged. The Krell's technological monopoly was over. A new era of galactic technological interaction had begun, and it was led by a species they had once considered primitive and insignificant. The transformation was complete. The message was clear. Humanity had arrived. The galaxy watched in silent anticipation. Humanity's technological breakthrough had changed everything, but the real game was just beginning. Captain Kim Tae-woo spread a holographic map across the strategic planning room. Colored lines represented complex networks of diplomatic and economic connections. Each line, each connection was a carefully planned strategy. "We're not conquering," he explained to his core team. "We're integrating." The Krell civilization found themselves in an unexpected position. Their technological superiority had vanished, replaced by a network of dependencies they couldn't escape. Human research programs, economic support systems, and technological collaborations began appearing everywhere. On a distant trading station, a Krell economic advisor realized something troubling. Every technological upgrade, every resource allocation now required human expertise. What seemed like generous support was actually a sophisticated trap. Park Yuna had designed these systems. Each support program contained hidden complexity. Technical assistance came with subtle requirements. Resource sharing included complex legal frameworks that gradually increased human influence. Lee Dong-hyuk managed the diplomatic side. He understood that true power wasn't about military might, but about creating intricate webs of mutual dependency. Humanitarian aid programs appeared across Krell territories. Medical research centers, educational exchange initiatives, technical support networks. Each program looked innocent. Each program was a strategic instrument. The Krell Grand Coordinator tried to resist, but every attempt to break free revealed another layer of human-designed infrastructure. Their communication networks, transportation systems, even basic resource management now relied on human technological frameworks. Smaller alien civilizations watched carefully. They saw how humanity transformed potential conflict into collaborative opportunity. No military invasion, no violent confrontation, just sophisticated strategic integration. Human researchers began appearing on Krell research stations. Not as conquerors, but as collaborative partners. They brought solutions to problems the Krell had struggled with for generations. Each solution came with subtle connections, gradual dependencies, economic systems transformed, trade routes were redesigned, technological standards were quietly reset. The Krell found themselves following human-designed protocols without even realizing it. "We're creating a new galactic ecosystem," Tae-woo explained during a closed strategic meeting. "Not through force, but through intelligent design." Strategic dominance wasn't about control. It was about making cooperation more attractive than conflict. Diplomatic networks expanded. What started as simple technological support became complex interstellar relationships. Human diplomats didn't demand. They proposed. They collaborated. They understood the subtle art of making others believe the solution was their own idea. The Q. Krell's previous approach of technological intimidation became obsolete. Humanity demonstrated that true power came from adaptability, creativity, and strategic thinking. Research collaborations increased. Technical exchanges became standard. What seemed like open, friendly interactions were carefully constructed strategic instruments. Lee Dong-hyuk tracked every interaction. Each diplomatic meeting, each research collaboration, each economic exchange was another thread in a complex global strategy. Smaller alien civilizations began requesting human involvement, not out of fear, but out of genuine collaborative interest. Humanity had shown a different model of interstellar interaction. The transformation was subtle, almost invisible, but it was comprehensive. The Krell gradually realized they were no longer the dominant technological civilization, not because they had been defeated, but because the entire game had been quietly redesigned. Tae-woo watched the holographic displays. Complex networks of connections spread like intricate neural pathways. Each connection represented potential, collaboration, mutual growth. "We're not just changing a civilization," he told Park Yuna. "We're changing how civilizations interact." As galactic standard time moved forward, humanity's strategic dominance became clear. Not through military might, but through intelligent, collaborative design. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was leading the transformation. The moment of truth arrived quietly. without dramatic explosions or grand speeches. In a simple conference room, with holographic displays casting soft blue light, humanity's true intentions would be revealed. Captain Kim Tae-woo stood at the center, surrounded by representatives from hundreds of alien civilizations. The Krell delegation sat rigid, their metallic bodies tense with anticipation. This entire interaction, Tae-woo began, was a test. Silence filled the room. Confusion spread across alien faces. Park Yuna activated a complex data projection. Layers of strategic planning, technological developments, and diplomatic maneuvers unfolded like an intricate mathematical proof. What seemed like random interactions were actually a carefully designed scenario. Humanity had been studying potential alien threats for generations, not through military preparation, but through sophisticated psychological and technological analysis. Every diplomatic meeting, every technological exchange was part of a larger experiment. The Krell Grand Coordinator struggled to comprehend. Their entire civilization had been systematically evaluated, not as a potential enemy, but as a complex problem to be understood. Lee Dong-yuk explained the deeper strategy. Humanity wasn't interested in conquest. They wanted to understand how different civilizations might interact, how complex systems respond to unexpected challenges. The revelation was stunning. What the Krell and other alien races saw as diplomatic interactions and technological exchanges were actually carefully constructed scenarios. Humanity had been testing the galaxy's adaptive capabilities. We needed to understand, Tae-woo continued, how intelligent systems respond to unexpected challenges. Each technological breakthrough, each diplomatic interaction had been a carefully designed test, not to defeat or control, but to learn. To understand the fundamental nature of intelligent communication and cooperation. Alien representatives looked at each other. Some showed confusion, some showed respect, some showed a growing understanding. The holographic displays continued to reveal layer after layer of strategic planning. Generations of human researchers had designed this moment, not as a moment of triumph, but as a moment of mutual understanding. What humanity had achieved was more than technological superiority. They had demonstrated a new model of interstellar interaction, cooperation over conquest, understanding over domination. The Krell delegation realized they had been participants in the most sophisticated social and technological experiment in galactic history, not victims, not enemies. Collaborative participants in a larger exploration of intelligence. Park Yuna's data projections showed how each interaction had been carefully monitored. Not to manipulate, but to understand. How do complex systems adapt? How do different civilizations respond to unexpected challenges? Lee Dong-hyuk highlighted the deeper philosophical approach. Humanity wasn't looking to rule. They were looking to learn, to grow, to understand the fundamental nature of intelligent interaction. The room remained silent. The weight of the revelation slowly sank in. Humanity had not conquered. They had explored. They had learned. They had demonstrated a profoundly different approach to interstellar interaction. The Krell Grand Coordinator, for the first time, showed something unexpected. Respect. As the presentation concluded, the galactic representatives understood something profound. Humanity was not just another emerging civilization. They were something entirely different. A species driven by curiosity, by the desire to understand, to grow, to collaborate. Tae-woo's final words hung in the air. We are not here to control. We are here to understand. The conference room remained quiet, but something had changed. A new understanding had emerged, a new possibility of interaction between civilizations. Humanity had revealed its true nature, not as conquerors, not as competitors, but as explorers, as learners, as a civilization committed to understanding the complex, beautiful universe around them. The final revelation was complete, and the galaxy would never be the same.